short, so I cut out all the words, and basically I came up with one line, all those moments where we lost the time, like Tears of Rain, and the other two are just preparation for that kind of capture the beauty and the attachment to Floyd, what he's seen. He's such a strange, full being, and he's about life, and he's about not giving. He's not about revenge. That's bullshit. So, yeah. So that's sort of, improvise. I can't improvise. I have to think about it, and I have to torture myself to come up with the right line. And I have to do it before I get to the set, or last minute on the set, which I have to do. And you don't do that on a picture this size. You don't. And I didn't know if Ridley was going to like the idea of cutting all that bullshit. And he said, and I hoped it was okay, but if he had said, no, I would like you to do the other one, I would have been so.
Let me just add one little thing to what James said about this being the original, flavor of the original. Respectfully, Jimmy, respectfully, Stanley Kubrick, 2001. Now,
all right, you're asking some excellent questions. We'll get to more of those. But let me ask Mr. Turkel, you mentioned Stanley Kubrick and that he did 3 films, which was unprecedented except for one British actor who's no longer with us, The Killing, Paths of Glory, and The Shining. What do you think Stanley Kubrick saw in you? And also, how did the Stanley Kubrick of The Killing compare to the Stanley Kubrick of much later in Shining?
Nobody in this room has enough time. I can talk about Stanley. I was with Stanley from the beginning. I'm not going to be too much on this microphone. He happened to see me in a film called Man Crazy, a picture that was made for $24. A terrible picture. He happened to like me. He was a young filmmaker in New York. He came out to California, called me. I said, thank you, Mr. Kubrick. And he had one thing he said all the time. Please, call me Stanley. If anybody ever called him Mr. Kubrick, call me Stanley. But if you called him Stan, forget it. Please, call me Stanley. I said, okay. So I did the film. It was very nice, young company, nobody ever heard of it. I came to hug him. Thank you very much, and he backed away. He was never close, never touched, but he was strictly business. And he, according to Francis Ford Coppola, in fact, this is a truism. I may get in trouble now.
Truism?
Truism.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Ridley Scott came over to me twice and says, Joe, how do you think Stanley would approach the scene? That's how much respect he had for Kubrick. I said, Ridley, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Everything is fine. But that's how much respect all of the directors had for Stanley Kubrick. What else did you ask?
Good show.
You saw the one picture that I saw. I did The Killing, then I did Paths of Glory, and then I did Shining. And during the course of all that time, he had changed. He became bald. He was more work. He worked himself to death. In Japanese, they call that, I forgot the word. Working himself. No, no, close. He worked himself to death. And at the end of his life, in the last moment, he was in bed with his wife. He was reading, she was reading. He was only in bed with his wife to read, and you know what? He was a very sexy man. He wasn't feeling good. He says, honey, I don't feel too well. He reached over to the night table for some pills, and he was gone. He looked at the floor, and he was dead crying to hitting the floor. And I'll end it with Stanley's grave. It is the most unique thing anybody has ever seen. He's buried in his backyard, in a grave. And there's a huge marble slab in the shape of a head. Old, huge, smooth marble slab that must weigh 80 tons or something. On it, it says, Stanley Kubrick. And the inscription, here lies our love Stanley. Born in New York, March 26, 1928. Died here at home. I'm sorry. Born July, I said July. Did I say July? Born July 26, 1928. Died here at home, March 7th, 1999. A huge storm. We saw that before. And that was, to me, he was the finest director. Not great. Great is a man who makes a custom-tailored suit. Fine is a man who stitches every stitch in that suit. Finest, with the wool of the belly of the lamb. The best. And Stanley Kubrick.
Here a minute.
Any questions over here? Then you are elected, sir.
Yeah, okay, 1 second, okay, 1 second. Before you do that, are you fixing your hair or your hat?
My hat.
This is my cameraman, Thorin, and he's filming this partially for my life documentary, but he's standing on the side. So could you come over here and stand so we can get a frontal picture of him? And you're getting the bad side of me.
We're not getting paid for this.
Oh, no, you just do have to sign the release.
I will. Okay, go ahead.
And I don't want your autograph, I just want you to sign it.
Okay, questions?
Yes, my question is for Mr. Hong. What is, in your mind, your favorite type of role to play? Dramatic, like in Blade Runner, or comedic, like in Balls of Fury, or even voiceover work, like in Kung Fu Panda?
It's a question, it's a question that I don't have an answer for you. I really don't. Was it a question for me, yeah?
What do you say?
Well, to me, the favorite role is Miss Piggy. And I know they won't give it to me. So when I'm an actor and I get these roles and I treat it literally like I'm sketching. I'm not making it complete. I'll fill it with as much as I can, but it's really sketching. And where you come in is you fill it in. My performance, and that's why I think my performances, I don't own them. The performance we own, you and me. And you may see a different movie, and I love it about Blade Runner because it allows you to see so many different movies. But any good movie has that openness where you are my reward and you are my success. This is not about money. It's about the connection that I have with you. And my youngest fan is 9, and she just turned 10, and she just won the message, answering message machine. I've got it ready for you. Okay? But so it's the connection with the audience that counts most for me, and not so much the character. I'll do the best I can with it. That's it.
Very true. Did you direct that question to him or to me?
To you.
I'm sorry.
Being on stage. Oh, he needs some water. Give him some whiskey, maybe. But anyway, I'd like to reinforce what you said. It's strange. I learned from.
I want to add something.
I learned.
Add one. No. Just before you start, I'll be short. There's so many things about Blade Runner that are like anything short of a miracle. And one of the miracles is that this movie, when it came out, was people were detesting the movie, and it's great that you can live long enough to see that time sometimes things just shift and then suddenly everybody goes, no, we get it. And then, just when it was 25 years old, they wanted to release the movie really big and make much money, but they still did the same. I don't know if you know, they made the same mistake that they did the first time. They waited too long to make deals with the theaters that were going to show the movie. So by the time they said, we're going to go big, all the theaters said, sorry, we're busy. You waited too long. And I like it.
That wasn't very short. Back to the real question. And like you said, well, how do you treat a role, I think, with something to that regard? It's strange. When I first started, I kept looking at the big stars like John Wayne and all those people, what they did, and Frank. I even did one with Frank Sinatra, but they always keep steady. they never waver very much. Did you notice how steady they were playing their roles, all those great actors? And like, I learned something from Burt
They know how to not do shit.
What?
They know how to not do shit.
Yeah. Whatever that is. But people like Burt Lancaster, he knew how to, well, here's how it happened. Go tell the Spartans, some very small budget picture. But after the shot,
Yeah? Come on, you can do it.
after the shot, he was going to the director, which was a relatively low budget film, so he would tell the director what was going on and what was wrong, because he's Burt Lancaster, right? But I know, I was trying to listen in, and he knew everything that was going on. He knew where the camera was pointing and where it's going to pan next, or what the other person was doing. And as somebody else said, he knew how to play the house, right? How to not only play to your character in the camera, but in films you have to know everything about what's going around, right? And that's the lesson we all learn as actors as we go on. And certainly in Big Trouble in Little China, I practiced that. As Lo Pan, you notice he's aware of everything that's going on around the room, around the little girls. So I did have to ad-lib and tickle Kim Cattrall, how wonderful she was. And say, ka-chee, you know. But you know, those are ad-libs and impromptus. And in Blade Runner, we did some impromptu things, because why? Like I said, they were hurrying to finish. So the villain put the little eyeball on my shoulder, and the script says he was walking, tromping over them, but we didn't have time to do all those special effects of walking over eyeballs. It's great as a script. Right. So he just simply put him on my shoulder, and it turned out to be very good, you know.
Thank God, Brian.
You have a question? But don't ask it, yeah, ask it later. Anyway, that's the gist of it. We could sit here for hours and just talk about it.
We will.
We have a question on the
So
side.
we'll end that question.
Yes.
I told you James was very shy.
A comment as a question also. My favorite scene in Blade Runner is when Ryan confronts Tyrell. You don't often get to confront your creator and maybe air some grievances. I thought it was very, very profound, and I'm just wondering how or if you prepared for that.
With what?
How or if you prepared for that.
Were you scared? Were you scared for that? The first day of shooting. First day, yeah. First day of shooting, and we would spend, I think, about 6 days of shooting on that scene. Meeting the god of biomechanics, right? Mr. Turkel. And yeah, and then say, okay, Dad, enough. So it was like my first experience with the production, the size, and Joe, I would love to hear you talk about this, because I'll say one thing. There was a $25,000 head that was built basically after I killed my so-called father. He drops to the floor and his head bursts open, and we see all kinds of wiring coming out, and then it goes into a restart and remote and come back to life. And then I go to Sebastian and say, take me to the real Baker. No bullshit. Right. So, and that was sort of in the script then, but there was a discussion going on that was not maybe going to be shot. This happened in the first few days, and my heart was bleeding because I thought it was so nice, because the scene would lead up to one more floor in the pyramid, and in a block of ice, frozen, his father, okay, the real guy. We never shot that, and it went out of the window, so I had to kill Sebastian, which I really didn't think I should. So what I was going to say was that the head So they had paid the rates. The head